If you're a Cowboys fan, you probably disliked this video before you even clicked on it somehow. Because in your mind, the Dallas Cowboys are the most talented team in the division, thereby making them one of the most talented teams in the league. And the problem is, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. You compare what the Dallas Cowboys have at the top of some of their positions, it's almost better than everybody else in the league. But the issue is, it hasn't happened for Dallas. And look, the NFL is a weird profession, man. Sometimes you have everything right. Sometimes you even if you have most things right, you can win a Super Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys have had pretty much everything right for the span of like all of Dak Prescott's career. The offensive line has been great earlier in Dak Prescott's career, and from actually the beginning of Prescott's career. Ezekiel Elliott was the rushing champion his rookie season. The wide receivers, I mean, you draft CeeDee Lamb after already having Amari Cooper. You get Michael Gallup. The defense had a year where they were historically bad. But outside of that year, they were a pretty solid defense, a pretty complimentary defense for Dak Prescott and a high-powered offense. And you look around and you say, man, basically all of this is right. But there's something weird about the NFL. Is the quarterbacks in this league, it's usually not the most talented ones in the NFL that make the wins late in the season and in the postseason. Matthew Stafford, even though he came into the league and from the moment he came into the league was possibly one of the most talented throwers of the football in the world and one of the most talented throwers of the football to ever play this game, he could not make it with Detroit. They couldn't do anything. And, that's not to knock Detroit, but that's just the reality of the situation, that not only did they have Matthew Stafford, one of the best throwers of the football ever coming out of college, going out of high school, people were saying he could enter the NFL and be the number one overall pick with just how purely strong his arm was with a football in his hand. And they had Calvin Johnson. They had both of those guys, and they couldn't do anything. They make one postseason in 12 seasons with Matt Stafford. And as soon as he goes to the Rams, he wins the Super Bowl. But if you're looking at it for Dak Prescott, he's had everything right around him. And honestly, the reality of the situation is, I think Dak Prescott has given enough in his short but impressive career that there's probably some guys, some names, you would say, if I really want just one Super Bowl, and look, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, don't lie to yourself. If you won one Super Bowl in 2023, you would be celebrating it for the next 30 years the same way the last Super Bowl was. It's going to mean so much to you because it's been so long, you're not going to care about any year after this year if you win the Super Bowl. So let's talk about it. If you're trying to win a Super Bowl, name some quarterbacks that you would take above Dak Prescott. I'd say Brady. I'd say Herbert. I'd say Mahomes. I'd say Burrow. I'd say Josh Allen. To be 100% honest with you, depending on how you used him, and look, this is a wild card because it all depends on if you put the correct offense around him. Lamar Jackson. Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has proved if you put everything around him correctly, he can get you not only to a Super Bowl, but win a Super Bowl. And shoot, am I forgetting anybody? Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, Brady, Aaron Rodgers. I guess Matt Stafford. He proved you put everything around him right. He can get you to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever you want to say about him, took the San Francisco 49ers to some of the best years of their recent decade. And them being a contender has as much to do with Jimmy Garoppolo over the last 4 years than anybody. So, I guess my point is, Dak Prescott is a really talented quarterback. He can do a lot of things for this football team. He can win a lot of regular season games against bad teams with this football team. But something's not there, man. Something's just not there. I don't know if it's the decide when we have 11 seconds on the clock to run the ball up the middle with a quarterback draw, and we have no timeouts, and I slide in the middle of the field to basically end the game. I don't know if that's why I have hangups with Dak Prescott, but that sure doesn't help. It sure doesn't help. And look, man, it's crazy that these things happen to the Dallas Cowboys. I think some crazy things happen to the Dallas Cowboys, both good and bad. It seems like a lot of times some bad things happen to the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't know, man. Some quarterbacks and some teams just don't have those issues. And those teams are usually the teams that end up winning the Super Bowl at the end of the year or participating in the championship games to go to the Super Bowl. Usually the 4 teams in the AFC and NFC championship are the 4 teams who avoided the weird shit that happens in a typical NFL season. And that's just not what the Cowboys are. And I'm not saying that that's all because of Dak Prescott, but I mean, he's the quarterback. He's the guy. And things just don't go the right way for Dallas. And I'm not saying that that's the reason that they won't win a Super Bowl. If you look at what's going to come to them in the first 13 weeks of the season with no Tyron Smith, it's not like the Dallas Cowboys are just going to be going into this season with an easy schedule. And look, last year they had probably one of the easiest schedules in the entire NFL. They had the entire NFC East, and the games that they did play good teams, they only beat 2 teams that made the playoffs last year, and one of them was Philadelphia. The other was starting a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones with the New England Patriots. So it's not like, they lost to Tampa Bay. They lost to Arizona and Las Vegas. They didn't compete against good teams. And you look at what they have to do to start the season. Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, LA, Philly. And then you go all the way to week 13. I mean, they're going to face some pass rushers. They're going to face some pass rushers that are going to get after Dak Prescott. And if you look at how the wide receiver depth chart looks right now, it's looking kind of thin after CeeDee Lamb. There's a chance he's not playing week 1. There's a chance Michael Gallup's not playing week 1. There's a chance that Noah Brown isn't playing week 1. There's a chance that some of the names that you're going to be seeing on a wide receiver depth chart for the Dallas Cowboys are some names you've never heard before. And that's not a good look if you're going into a season hoping to be a Super Bowl contender. Now again, this team, look, I could be completely wrong, right? I could have told you a bunch of bullshit, and I could be completely wrong about everything I'm saying right now. And the Dallas Cowboys could go 13-4, get home field advantage, win 2 games against the Niners and the Packers, and win the Super Bowl. All of this could happen. And that alone is to speak of how talented this team is. Because once Tyron Smith comes back, the hope is that he's well rested going into not only the last 4 games of the regular season, but hopefully 3 to 4 games in the postseason, and that he's a lockdown left tackle for a team that really wants to protect their quarterback. That is all the hope, and that is all the thing that I think Dallas thinks is going to happen. Once week 13 hits and we get everybody back, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But they better play like that until week 13 and not just hope that once week 13 comes around, we can be 6-6 and just getting Tyron Smith back is going to be the difference. They cannot think that at all. Because if that is their thought, it's not going to happen. They're going to get absolutely washed if that is their plan. This Ezekiel Elliott thing seems strange. A smart head coach, a smart general manager would have tried to not only trade him by now, but if they couldn't trade him, at least figure out a way to put the more talented guy above him on the depth chart. Right now, I hate to say it because I loved Ezekiel Elliott at my favorite college, Ohio State, but he is not the more talented guy right now. It's Tony Pollard is the more talented guy. And he fits more of today's mold of what you want a running back to be able to do, not only running the ball, but catching the ball as well. He fits that mold better. And, a lot of this comes down to the coach as well. I don't know how out there I have made my opinions on Mike McCarthy. But look, I think of all the teams that have Super Bowl hopes, the Dallas Cowboys are one of about a dozen teams that I think has actual Super Bowl hopes and aspirations, and they are warranted. I think of those dozen teams, Mike McCarthy has to be by far the worst of them. I'll just rattle off some of those coaches that I'm talking about. Sean McDermott, Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, Frank Reich, Andy Reid, Josh McDaniels, who struggled in his 1 year as a head coach, but he's taken over a 10-17. Zach Taylor, Mike Tomlin. That's just in the AFC as well. It was a really sad day that Dallas put their faith into Mike McCarthy. If you can't make it work with Aaron Rodgers, man, how are you going to make it work with Dak Prescott? How are you going to make it work with Dak Prescott if you can't make it work with Aaron Rodgers? And if you're Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, how are you expecting your team to actually work with this idiot, this mongoloid, running the franchise, running the team? He is in charge of the team, and he's an idiot. And look, man, as much as I said that I don't think Dak Prescott is even the fourth or fifth best option if you're trying to build a Super Bowl contender, I still think you can win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. I still think you can win a Super Bowl with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard as your running back core, with even a banged up wide receiver core that's a really talented receiver room. Some good tight ends, a good offensive line once they get healthy, a good defense that can take the ball. This team should win a Super Bowl. You run a simulation 100 times, the Dallas Cowboys with this roster win it 15 times. They are a good team. But the coach is derailing this situation. And it's not going to be just some overnight thing where Mike McCarthy's going to figure it out, because he had so long to figure it out. He's had so long. He's had too long. He's had far too long in Dallas, and he had far too long in Green Bay. So it's a root of the issue, but unfortunately doesn't look like it's getting solved anytime soon.